Good morning. My name is Dr. Ben. This is the Pre Chiro podcast. Today, I have someone who has been very integral to the Pre Chiro project with me here today. Joe, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure, Ben. It's great to be here.
Yes.
Awesome to see that this project is continuing to grow and that you've launched this new podcast.
Yeah. So why don't you speak a little bit about the creative? So for background context, Joe helped really take a lot of what I've been writing about over the last 10 years as I went through chiropractic school. Once I got out, I just continued to write on my experience as a chiropractic student and then transitioning into chiropractic practice. And then I tried to really organize it as best as I can and hand it off to Joe, who's a content creator, who's been doing work in the copywriting space, in the marketing space. Also was working full time when I met him, but was connected to me through a mutual friend of ours, Dan, who's a fellow chiropractor of mine. And anyway, he was able to take all of my content and put it into an organized form so that we could really create this Pre Chiro program, so to speak. Joe, can you talk a little bit about that initial sort of run through of the material and trying to wrap your head around what I was trying to do by creating a Pre Chiro program?
Sure. From a creative standpoint, I think in a lot of ways, I was the first Pre Chiro student because Ben, as an entrepreneur, is also a very prolific content creator. And what I got through the creative process was this crash course in chiropractic as I began to explore the probably thousands of pages of material that Ben has generated on the topic of chiropractic and on the topic of chiropractic education. So really, from a content creation standpoint, there wasn't a whole lot to create. It was more just taking what's there and seeing how we can shape it into something that can prepare the next generation of chiropractors. I approached it as a Pre Chiro student because I came to Pre Chiro as somebody who had been a lifelong chiropractic patient across various disciplines and practices, but still knew very little about the history of chiropractic, the philosophy of chiropractic, even the art of chiropractic. I feel like I knew a little bit about the science just because of my background as a medical writer. But really, again, I just want to stress that from a creative standpoint, this was more of a shaping project rather than a creation from whole cloth project. And that's very much to your credit, Ben.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true that you did go through different chiropractic offices throughout your life and didn't really get a full understanding of what chiropractic was about. You even had a friend who was going through chiropractic school, one of your closest friends, and he grew up in a very chiropractic oriented family structure. His mom was a chiropractor. Who was closely aligned with one of the most philosophically oriented chiropractors that we have in Donnie Epstein and Network Care. So it really is true across the board with most people that receive chiropractic care that they never get to fully hear the chiropractic story. And so I'm just grateful that you had the capacity and the patience to go through all of the different information that I was providing that tried to really be as comprehensive as possible for that young student, or even before you become a chiropractic student, that young person who's considering a career path in healthcare and doesn't know which direction they want to go and wants to get really clear as fast as possible what chiropractic is about, what it offers, and the different directions you can go within it. So can you speak a little bit about what you did learn as you started to explore the Pre Chiro material and how it expanded your context for what's available to the Pre Chiro student?
Sure. I had, even as somebody who had been under standard, I don't want to say standard because there really is no like there is no singular definition of chiropractic care, but my pediatric chiropractor and most of my adult life, my chiropractor was a Palmer graduate. So that's about as OG as it gets in the chiropractic world. And then from there, I was under the care of Dr. Dominic Smora in Caldwell, New Jersey, who is a network spinal analysis practitioner. So I've really, I thought I'd seen it all, right? And I had only begun to scratch the surface in terms of what chiropractic offers, not just to the patient, but to the doctor themselves. I mean, I think one of the biggest takeaways I've learned is that as a doctor of chiropractic, there are certainly standards of care. There are certainly ethical standards that you need to meet. But there is so much room to practice as you see fit within those ethical and legal standards. And there is a version of chiropractic that works for everybody, and there's a version of chiropractic that works for every chiropractor. It's just a matter of finding what speaks to you and what speaks to the patient. And I think that insight comes from the discovery of the philosophy of chiropractic. And I think that the philosophy of chiropractic is something that the allopathic tradition of medicine, and I'm not knocking allopathic medicine at all, I've certainly benefited from it. It's a different thing. But I think that traditional Western medicine, as we know it, has lost track of the value of philosophy. And that's something that chiropractic gets. And I think that the results in chiropractic are a product of that, among other things.
Mm-hmm. Right. The satisfaction of people that receive chiropractic care is very high. And so you'd obviously been seeing a chiropractor through your life because it served you, it benefited you, you enjoyed going to the chiropractor. But yes, you're absolutely right. The differentiation of that experience within the context of the general public viewing healthcare and the different options available to them, not really seeing chiropractic for what it is, which is a philosophy of life, a philosophy on how you view health, how you view healing, how you approach this process of really just learning through life and living off of experience of the recognition that your brain and your central nervous system takes in signals from its environment, processes those signals, and basically controls your physiology, controls and regulates your digestion, your heart rate, your blood pressure, and so on. So I really like how you put that chiropractic stands alone in its philosophical orientation to healing and to healthcare. And I believe that every undergraduate student needs to hear that message because if you search hashtag pre Chiro, there's less than 100 posts as of today. But if you hashtag pre physical therapy, pre PT, pre med, there's over 25,000 posts. So that's just a reflection on how absent chiropractic's been in the narrative psychology of a college student who's considering a healthcare path and is not really hearing that chiropractic is even an option, let alone the primary choice for them if they want to become someone who works with the natural abilities of the body to heal itself, which is in alignment with either their religious views or their spiritual views or their ways of viewing nature. I mean, it's a sustainable healthcare path. So can you drill down a little bit into the framework that we were able to create within the context of Pre Chiro and how we really walk the student through this initial orientation to the profession as efficiently as possible?
Sure. Yeah. So as you might have gathered, if you're watching this live stream, is that chiropractic is extremely broad, right? So it's easy to feel overwhelmed. I mean, Ben, I think you should talk a little bit about this. Just the possibility that you don't know much about chiropractic, but it speaks to you, and then you end up at the wrong school. Maybe the discipline you're learning doesn't speak with or doesn't align with what's calling you to chiropractic. I think that's something that if you haven't explored already, like maybe that's worth getting into right now. It's just you could invest so much time and money in the wrong thing.
Mhm.
So maybe if you don't mind, share a little bit about that.
Right. So I'm not knocking any specific school, but the reality is many of the schools today are leaving the philosophy of chiropractic out of the educational experience, out of the curriculum, and that has its reasons. There's a cause to that effect. However, if you go to a school that's lacking chiropractic, lacking the focus on the art, science, philosophy, business, and communication of chiropractic, because it's so busy trying to fit in to the physical therapy models, to the therapeutic way of thinking clinically. Sure, these chiropractic schools are producing natural medicine practitioners, professionals that either prescribe supplement protocols or can even perform minor surgery. But the reality is most schools are not really offering chiropractic in the context of being a philosophy, which is what it was initially designed to be. And so a lot of the older generation thinks that chiropractic is dying because of this. And it's our responsibility, my generation's responsibility, to recognize what we were given, what we were gifted by that previous generation who saw the importance of remaining connected to the original roots of the origins. And so I didn't really have that context going into school. I chose a school that was lacking any sort of philosophy. They didn't even acknowledge the term vertebral subluxation as being what it is, which is a connection between the nervous system and vertebral function, and how chiropractors work with that intimate relationship of how the brain can change when the spine changes, and how that can change your whole life in so many different ways when your brain is working differently. So the philosophy is just, it makes sense. It's rooted in practicality and logic that is rational. It's not irrational. And by choosing that wrong school, it cost me $20,000 in 6 months. I've had conversations with people that said if I knew what chiropractic was, it would have saved me 10 years of trying to figure out the right path, the right profession. They eventually wound up in chiropractic in their pursuit of purpose. But in reality, chiropractic is not loudly speaking about what it is, so that people can hear. And until that happens, people will choose the wrong schools. They will be disenchanted with the career path that they took. And that could have all been prevented if they just heard the truth early on.
So, we've been talking a lot about chiropractic philosophy so far. I think it's important to explain, perhaps to potential pre-chiro students who might be listening or watching, why is philosophy so essential to chiropractic? It seems like it's kind of out of place, but it's really not. And I think hearing it from a doctor might be better than hearing it from a journalist.
Right. Well, in the law of cause and effect, the philosophy or belief system that a person has really leads to the behaviors that they exhibit. And if we're speaking in the context of healthcare, the philosophy of chiropractic is to allow the recuperative healing abilities within the body to do their thing, that the body really doesn't need anything. It just needs no interference, meaning no stress in the form of chemical stress, physical stress, emotional stress, electromagnetic stress, from reaching its optimal potential. So we just need to minimize stress. And the best way that we know how is through removing the inability from the brain to take in information accurately from its environment. Through the adjustment, we can create a better, more accurate reception of that signal from the environment into the nervous system through the spine. So that's like a lot of information to take in, but there's a depth to that, and that's the study of chiropractic.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'm really giving as clear of an explanation as I could, but I just want to say that your philosophy guides your practice. And if you don't have a philosophy that's differentiated, which chiropractic's philosophy is differentiated, then you're just going to be similar to another physical therapist or a therapeutic model, whether it be massage or whether it be yoga or whether it be a medical professional who's offering stem cell injections. I mean, after all, if there's a non-therapeutic model in chiropractic, then it's really about seeing things as a process, not an event, and seeing life as a continual unfolding, that you need consistent support, that you need a consistent looking after of your spine. And it doesn't focus just on pain, but it's also about pain, function, performance, optimization. And that's really where chiropractic shines. And so my hope is that a student, before they go to chiropractic school, can get that message really clear, and explore that message deeply so that they can make a decision that's very much in alignment with how they understand chiropractic.
Yeah, just listening to everything you're saying, a phrase popped up in my mind, and it's that, like, if I had to sum up chiropractic philosophy, it's impossible to do in a single phrase, but the phrase that kind of popped up was chiropractic is life affirming. There are very few therapeutic interventions that are life affirming. I'll never forget this, Ben, when I first started to really notice a difference in the quality of my life in working with Dr. Samora. I thanked him and I said, I really appreciate what you're doing for me. It's translating across the board. It's not just that I feel better, it's that I am better, right? And he said, that's great, but like, you're doing this. I'm not doing anything. I'm merely affirming or enhancing what's already innately inside of you. And that's a major perspective shift, I think, because anybody who's grown up in the Western healthcare paradigm, again, it's effective. If I have a raging infection, I want that antibiotic. I don't want to die. But most of the time when you're seeing a doctor, they're telling you something is wrong with you and I have the solution. And really, as you said, in a low stress environment with appropriate nutrition, appropriate hydration, getting sufficient sleep, getting outside, getting the sun on your skin to produce that vitamin D, your body has what it needs. There's nothing wrong with you. There's a reason why our species is still here. Like, we're equipped with some pretty awesome hardware, and chiropractic sort of affirms the power of that hardware.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, it's focusing on what's right within you instead of what's wrong with you. Yes, people come in, they have symptoms, they've been given diagnoses, but as a chiropractor, the philosophy is, wow, the body is doing such an amazing job right now of handling all this stress, handling all of this adversity. It's always the chiropractor really leverages the intelligence of the body and says the intelligence will always make the most appropriate adaptation in any given circumstance, no matter what. The body's more intelligent than I am. I'm not the doctor. I'm really just helping the doctor, which is inside your body, do its thing a little bit better so that you can move forward a little more whole, a little bit more confident in yourself. And fear is such a big part of healthcare that people don't even go to the doctor anymore unless something's really wrong with them. And as humans, human to human connection today is more important than ever. And we're in a touch deprived civilization. There's so many reasons why chiropractic, if it was more integrated into society, would support humanity in being more connected to each other, in being less sick, in being well and staying well. And it's not really about cursing the darkness. It's about turning on the light.
Yeah.
And
you had a beautiful Instagram post the other day. It was you just really simple, looking up at a tree, and that's the beauty, I think, of chiropractic philosophy is chiropractic. You're outside. you are getting that wonderful sunlight, you're out in nature, breathing clean air. Thankfully, the air has cleared up on the West Coast. And you're aligning your spine, looking up at this tree. And you probably, if I'm putting myself in your shoes, had this feeling of awe and appreciation that this living thing on our planet Earth is able to grow and thrive like this. All of that is chiropractic philosophy. I mean, that's amazing. And, you know, again, I don't want to be too critical of Western medicine because I've benefited from that as well, but you're not going to experience and feel that in the Western medical education or in the practice of Western medicine. You certainly will feel that as a chiropractor. And I think initially this whole question stemmed from like, how do we guide people into this very complex thing that is chiropractic? It's experience. It's seeing that going out in the woods and looking at a tree is chiropractic. It's going and having an adjustment from various different chiropractors is chiropractic. It's exploring the actual clinical evidence and trials of chiropractic and seeing for yourself that there is scientific rigor that goes into this as well. It's experience. Pre-chiropractic to me is experience. And that's what sets it apart from really any other similar programs that exist.
Yes. Yeah, you can read as many books as you want to read about chiropractic, but if you don't experience it, then you're really not gaining a full perspective on what it is. It starts from within. It basically is living your life from the inside out, not accepting other people's truths. The last thing I want with the Pre Chiro program is to sell you this education, to sell you this path. No, this is not about trying to attract more people into chiropractic for the wrong reasons. This is about attracting people into chiropractic who feel that this profession is calling to them based on a consistent message from multiple chiropractors in different parts of the world. And we're going to be I just talked this morning at 6 a.m. to someone who's been in practice for 31 years in a small town in Argentina.
Wow.
And he said after the broadcast, you know, chiropractic is dying and the schools aren't teaching it anymore. And I said, well, yeah, that's partially true, but believe me, I was telling him his generation reached us. They really did. And there's thousands of chiropractors that are on fire and love the principle, that are anchored in this innate intelligence that we have within, that drives our experience of life, that gives us this lens, this perception of the nature in everything. And that allows us to observe what's beyond the surface level, that allows us to look for the cause and see things at the root level. And like you said, this is all chiropractic. So as a person transitioning careers, burnt out from their financial job or marketing or anything that is just sucking the life out of them, a profession like chiropractic can put them in touch with themselves in a way that builds trust and builds character, that you are listening to that voice inside of you and honoring that at a much higher level than you were previously when you become a chiropractor.
Something I've been thinking about, Ben, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this, is, and I'm sorry to keep asking you questions, but I'm kind of not used to being on the other side of interviews as a journalist. But why I've had this sensation that right now is the perfect moment for chiropractic. There's something in particular, I think, with the younger generations that make them more receptive, not just to chiropractic care, but to potentially becoming doctors of chiropractic. And I'm wondering if you've felt that too, and if so, why or why not?
Yeah, I mean, if you're a young person and you are really looking out at your options, there's so much competition, a culture of competition, so to speak, that's baked in to these high level or high authority, high cultural authority professions, where they're looked at as the sort of shiny object, and you don't really resonate with the rest of the crowd. You say to yourself, I don't really like to follow the pack. I'm kind of an outsider, or I'm somebody who thinks differently than most of the other people in my community or in my class. My group of friends is just think they're on a different path than I am. People that are recognizing the importance of taking care of our climate, that are recognizing the importance of sustainability, and also want to take care of others, see the importance of showing up for the people that they care about the most, their family members. Usually they're going to look at healthcare and they're going to say to themselves, okay, what is the most sustainable profession that relies the least on outside external pills or pieces of equipment or different gadgets and electronic devices, which is the profession that's going to allow me to travel the world if I want to pick up and go somewhere and relocate because the climate is becoming more challenging, or because chiropractic is that profession. It's that profession, and it checks all the boxes on, you can go anywhere and practice anywhere in the world. You can offer something that's truly unique in your community. You can offer something that's in alignment with people's values of being taken care of in a loving, connected way. You listening to others, you're preaching the power of listening. And I just believe deeply in my heart that this profession deserves to be the top choice. If you want to be a holistic healthcare professional, if you want to provide natural health, natural health care, if you want to teach people about the ways of living more in harmony with nature, you can do all of that and be called a doctor. And there's just nothing else out there that compares at this moment in time. What do you think if you were talking to a younger person, having a conversation with them, and they were thinking about going into healthcare? How would you contextualize chiropractic to them? What would you say if you were like their guidance counselor for a few minutes there?
I tend to operate more from like a place of feeling people out. So if I were a guidance counselor and there was a young person sitting across from me and I knew that they were bright, but I also got the feeling that they were a very soulful, empathic individual. And I knew that helping other people was something that was important to them. I think that's somebody who I would steer toward chiropractic, because one of the things you just said that really stuck out in my mind is that you have this extraordinary relationship with your patients that doctors of various disciplines, just because of the way modern healthcare operates, don't really have the opportunity to develop anymore. I just, for everybody's context here, like, I do a lot of reporting on healthcare, freelance journalism on healthcare, and I write a lot for physician audiences. And one of the chief complaints modern physicians have is that the days of having a relationship with your patients are gone. And it's largely because of the business model that healthcare operates on. And also a contributing factor is electronic health records, which are very time consuming. And I've had physicians who have been in the business up to 50 years in some instances, who have said to me, EMRs drove me out of work. I didn't become a doctor to become a stenographer. I became a doctor to connect with people. I wanted to be the family doctor in my town. I wanted to know everybody's first name. I wanted to see their kids grow up and go to college. And unfortunately, that just is harder and harder to do in medicine. However, in chiropractic, that's the nature of the game. I'm sure you're on a first name basis with your patients. I'm sure you know what's going on in their lives. Not only that, you're literally hands-on with them. Like, think about think about the nature of the pandemic now. People are still developing bacterial infections. People are still having things that require the attention of a medical doctor, right? Now we have telemedicine, which in some ways has been a godsend during the pandemic because it's probably saved a lot of lives from COVID-19. However, think about how many times now, and I think we're going to see more of this going into the future, where you go to the doctor and they don't even touch you. They don't even do a physical examination of you. There literally is no physical connection whatsoever. And I think for somebody who's a really soulful individual, a really heart-centered individual, and also has the smarts to handle the rigorous scientific and technical training that goes into chiropractic, that's the kind of person who I would say, I think you should explore this, because it's one of the few things I can think of that checks all of those boxes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. So if I'm a young person and I am interested in chiropractic, what do I do to really, I don't have an MCAT to prepare for. I don't have any sort of GRE or entrance exam, which almost every healthcare professional institution has, because they're trying to challenge the student to live up to their standards that they say, okay, you're going to be rewarded. We're going to allow you to come into our program because you prepared, obviously, did well in our test. And chiropractic's lacking an entrance exam. It's lacking any sort of standards. They don't require a minimum amount of experiential learning hours in the clinics. However, they've made the entrance admissions requirements easier by allowing students that just have a bachelor's degree. It could be in art history.
Yeah.
They'll allow them to come in to chiropractic school. That's drastically different than a medical program that has such rigorous standards and so much competition to get in. And what kind of message is that sending? It's not sending a message of we're proactively trying to improve the quality of incoming chiropractic student. And we really want you to be challenged before you come to chiropractic school, so that we know that you will have developed thick skin in dealing with adversity, and you will have gained a certain amount of real world experience, so that when you get into the clinic, you have that experience and can really shine when you need it most for the people that you're taking care of. So how does a student really engage with the chiropractic profession?
Well, I hate to be this sort of reductionistic about it, but I only really see two ways of going about it, right? The first way is to figure it out yourself. And that can prove very costly and ineffective if you're not in a position where, let's say, like our good friend Dan Mutter, excellent chiropractor, truly gifted healer. As you mentioned earlier in the podcast, he grew up steeped in chiropractic. His mother is also a phenomenal chiropractor. Mm-hmm. So he had somebody to guide him every step of the way. I really feel for somebody who's in your position, or in your former position, who has to figure it out on your own. And I'm not saying you can't do it. It can be done, but it's risky. It's perilous. You don't want to end up in that position where, like you were in, where you wasted $20,000 in a profession where you're going to most certainly have a student loan that's in the six-figure range. It's just kind of unavoidable unless you come from a wealthy background, that you're going to incur some student loan debt. And quite frankly, the other way you can go is to use a program like this one that is going to challenge you in the way you described, both educationally and experientially, putting you into various practices. Obviously, legally, ethically, you can't adjust anybody, but you can get a crash course and a feeling for what it's like to be a chiropractor. It's much more, for most chiropractors, for example, it's much more than just being the doctor. You're also the entrepreneur. You're the business person managing that practice. That's something, again, that chiropractic school, let me back up a little bit and just say this. pretty much every chiropractor I know has told me that they really struggled in chiropractic school at one point or another. Some have even said that they considered dropping out just because it was so much. And if you think about it, it's the same amount of education that your standard MD gets, except it's condensed down into 4 years. So like you said, man, like you gotta be ready for that crucible. And pre-chiropractic, you do this program, we're going to point you toward the right courses that you need to take before you even consider applying to chiropractic school. We're going to give you that experiential learning experience, and you're not going to have to figure it out on your own. You know, you're going to have access to Ben to figure out what the right career trajectory might be for you, to figure out what courses you should be taking as an undergrad. Maybe you even, if you're super into chiropractic, maybe you even start doing this stuff in community college while you're in high school, and you get a leg up. Like these are all options that are available to you, but you don't know they're available to you unless you have the experience of another doctor to rely on. And that's, again, I think I said this earlier, that's the differentiator of pre-chiropractic. It's experience based. It's 100% experience based. It's either the experience of the doctors in our network, or it's your personal experience of going out and seeing and experiencing chiropractic for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right on, Joe. Thank you so much for sharing. I think that there's some moments that I went through as a college student where I wasn't really even questioning what the right path for myself was going to be. I was just going through the motions. I was taking the classes that I needed to take to complete my bachelor's degree. I was really enjoying life. I didn't have this feeling at all that I was missing out on something. But knowing, after having gone through a graduate level program, that there was so much that I could have been better prepared for, this pre-Chiro program is really for that young person who doesn't know what they should be doing, but knows that they want to go into healthcare one day and they want to better somebody's life. They want to improve someone's health. They want to focus on how to improve their own health and self-care. And we're just going to provide some structure for that. There's not anybody here in the pre-Chiro program that is going to be forced to do anything. It's more just ask yourself these questions, explore these different opportunities that exist, whether you realize they're there or not. That's it. It's really a simple survey of an amazing path. And at the end of the day, if it's not the right fit, then we still were successful in helping you see that. It's really all about efficiency, right? There's not enough time for a busy person like a student or someone transitioning careers that has a life to really go through the whole chiropractic thing without having somebody hold their hand and do it for them, or do it with them. So thank you so much for your contributions thus far. And I believe that we will create together a lot of pre-Chiro advocates, whether they be in the form of pre-Chiro students or whether they're chiropractic students that see the value of pre-chiropractic and what it could do for the profession, but also what it can do for the next generation. And it's really about that trust that you've had in me so far to like really go all in and stick with me through the unknown territories that we're chartering together. So I want to thank you for that, man.
Well, thank you. And, I would be remiss not to thank you as well. Pre-chiropractic changed the trajectory of my career, and chiropractic in general changed the trajectory of my life. So I see this as just returning the favor. And anything I can do to attract more people to this game-changing way of life and career, I'm more than happy to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate you, brother. I really, I think this is valuable. And if anyone has any questions, please drop them in the comment box below. This is the Pre Chiro podcast. Please like, subscribe, hit the subscribe button so that you could be notified of these interviews as they come out in the future. And check out our website, becomeachiro.com, where the Pre Chiro program is offered. We have strategy sessions that will help get you clearer on whether this is something that's right for you, and whether you want to follow down this path a little bit. But have a great day, Joe. Thank you so much for taking the time, and really appreciate it once again, man.
My pleasure, Ben. Take care.